Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first real lesson for this crash course in R. In this lesson, we'll kind of go over what R and RStudios are and actually open up RStudios so you can actually get to see what the program looks like. So just to briefly go over what R is, it's a computer programming language that allows you to do a lot of traditional statistics and data analysis, data cleaning, but also data visualization. And the more you learn more about it, the more you learn that you can do. It's a completely open source and free, which is a great reason why to use it. And it's constantly being updated with new functions. And these functions are allow you to use R in a easy way without having to know a super amount of code. And you can get these functions from R packages, which I'll explain later when we really start using these functions. But let's start talking about RStudios. RStudios is kind of the application that we're going to be using R within, and it provides us a space that is uh, very organized, allows us to see graphs and manage our files in an easy way, and it allows us to actually use a lot of different types of coding, including Python and R, but we're only really going to be using R in this. Now that we've kind of gone over what R is, let's actually open up R. And to do that, we should click RStudio. And when you click RStudios, it might open up my previous project. So it's gonna look a little different than your screen if this is the first time that you're using RStudios. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, perfect. So this should be closely what your screen should look like now. And it's gone. Let's give it a second. Okay, now it's done freaking out. So um, to start, we're going to start a project, and this is kind of leads to one of the first, I guess, big lessons from this lecture and from this class is just file management. It's very important to stay organized with your files when you're working with something like RStudios or just data management in general, is to know exactly where each file is and keeping everything related to a single project together. So a project is kind of like a way to organize or organizes likes to organize its workspace. And it's kind of like imagine like if you were working at your desk and you had your laptop set up and you had your coffee and your water and everything, your notes. It'd be like just getting up and then leaving everything there and then coming back. So where everything's exactly where you placed it. So that's essentially what a project is trying to do. So to create a project, you're going to we would do new project, but before we do that, as I was saying with um, data management, we first need to create a space where we want um, the project to be in. So it's here. I'm going to create a folder. It's called test R, and this is where our project is actually going to be and reside in. And when you create a project, what you're actually doing is, in addition to having that saved space, you're actually gonna tell R where in your computer and memory you want it to draw its files from. So you need to, which is called a directory, a working directory. To start a new directory, project. And this is going to be kind of like um, where you tell R to access files from. So instead of it, having access to your whole computer and you having to scroll through to find where the files are when you want to actually upload them onto R and have it work on it, you can set it to a very small space, which it makes it so much easier to keep all your data and files organized. So you can want whenever you're making any file and all, you really want to make it as specific to what you're using it for as possible. So you remember what is this project. You don't want it to just be called like pizza. And then you come to it like 6 months later, and you're like, wow, well, I don't know what this is about. And you have to, dig through it. So let's just do my first R project. And now you have to set the subdirectory, and like I said, that's going to be where you're actually going to be giving R access to on the computer. So do desktop, go to the folder we created, you open, and then you just do create project. All right, here we have, like I was saying before, this is our project, and right now we have 3 consoles, but three windows. We should have 4, or panels, sorry. So I'm going to open up a file, which is going to be an R script. This is essentially, think of it as kind of like a Word file where you kind of write down our code, and we're going to be able to save it so that when we come back, we can use it and edit it. And it's also a way how you can send your code out to other people. This is the file that you're going to use. So now that we have our script file open, let's talk about all the panels. So our script, the script is, which is here, which is what you're going to write here. This is basically where you're going to put your commands that you're going to tell R. And you have to write it in a way that R can understand it. And throughout this course, we're going to teach you the vocabulary and the grammar to use. And this allows it to you to save your work, but it also allows you to reproduce it in a way that if you have a similar project in the future, you don't have to completely write everything from scratch. You can borrow your code from a different project and use it. So you're going to write the things that you want to save in this top left corner, which is where your file is, your script is. And then this is actually where, this also, even though this is where you're saving it, it could also be where you execute code. So let's say just, for example, one of its basic functions that R can do is just do simple math. So you just do 2 plus 2. And then you can either just, so you have to highlight it, and then either you click run, or you can do shortcut, which is do command enter. And then the result of our, so what doing a run does is that it sends this code to the bottom left, which is called the console, and which actually does all the heavy lifting of RStudios. It is where the command actually gets executed, and that's like really, you can see here, this is where R is the baseline programming. And so it took your 2 plus 2, and then it gave the response to this function, which is 4. So you can, whenever you put something in here and you do run, it sends it to here and it'll execute the code. The reason why we write up here in the why we write in the script and not in the console is because the console, whatever you write in it goes away after you close your project or the window. And the whole beauty of R and RStudios is that you get to save it and reproduce it. So you can test out a code in the console, and there are some things you do in the console, but for the most part, you're going to be writing completely in the editor, the script editor that's just top left. So that covers the left side. Now let's start with the right side. Top right is the environment, and that allows us to keep a collection and basically a library of the objects that are saved in R. And an object, we'll learn about what objects are, but they can be like a graph, it can be a whole data table, it can be just as simple as like one simple object. And it also keeps history, so that's an environment that it tells you all that it gives you a list of all the objects that you have saved in the current project and session. And history is a list of all the commands that you ran in the session. And the session, I think I mentioned it, but session is just in one sitting of working on an RStudios project. Let's say you closed it and saved it, that is considered one session. And then when you open it back up, you start a new session. And it allows you to quickly access and easily access the object. So let's say you had a data table in here, you can like click it and then it'll pop up open here, but we'll be able to see that in a different video. And lastly, we have the bottom right, which is the files, plot, and help viewer. There's not really a better name for it. But this is where you can actually have an easy way to see the files in your project and other files in like your entire computer that you can bring to the you can upload to RStudios, but the real function of it is to see your working directory where the files that you're currently working on are coming from. And that's really where you're gonna wanna, the working directory is gonna be where you wanna keep your files, because it's so much easier to upload them onto RStudio rather than having to like come up with a whole entire file path name and telling exactly where on your computer your file is. So that's for files. Then you have plots. That's when you have code that executes a function that makes a graph, or like a graphing function. Whenever you execute that code, it'll show up in this plot window here, or this plot panel. And it's a very useful way to work on a graph if you're trying to edit it and tweak it to make it to your liking. It's you could see all the changes you make in real time here. Or it's not real time, you have to execute the code each time, but you'd be able to see the changes here. And then lastly, we have the help viewer, the help panel. And this allows you to read up on the basically a manual of any function that you're working on. So let's say I think base R, which is like R without any functions loaded, I think it should have. So the way that you call something to help is you in the console, because that's where you execute code, you question mark, and then you write the function that you want help from. So let's do R mean, and if you click that and then you press enter, it'll pop up in the help and they'll in the help panel, and then they'll give you the documentation and the explanation of what this function does, how to properly use the function, like the format of it to do what you want it to do, and Yeah, and you can do that pretty much with any function that you have in your current library. And that is really it for um, for this lesson. We'll go into a little more about the actual coding and the grammar of R in the next video, but this was kind of just a way to actually, see RStudios, kind of get the hang of its layout. And I'll just say, I know it looks very daunting now, with all these different optionalities and tabs and everything, but just from experience, and I still don't know what most of these things do, but the more you use it, you kind of find your niche within the application and within the software, and you just get good at it, and that's all you need to know about, and that's all you need to worry about. So thank you so much for watching this video, and yeah, next time we're gonna actually learn how to start a project and get some coding done. So thanks for watching.